Hello there. My name is Cliff Ayozie, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Mbaise USA Decides 2024. And today we have one of the guests is somebody that is aspiring to occupy the position of the National Secretary of Mbaise USA. He's somebody that has built his capacity over the years, expanded his experience, and felt that he has to serve his community. He holds a PhD in forensic psychology with special interest in advanced human behavior. And of course, a master's degree in diplomacy and of course, international law. Dr. Uche Bonny-Life Ndu, it's my pleasure to welcome you.
Thank you, Ambassador Cliff. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
You aspire to be the secretary of a body that's respected, worldwide, Mbaise USA. Some people have different perceptions about it. What is your own perception? What is your understanding of Mbaise USA, the way you want to explain it to anybody?
Thank you for that question. I, I consider myself a patriotic Mbaise man. So that from that prism, I am always enthusiastic on issues regarding Mbaise. And then Mbaise USA is the umbrella organization of Mbaise citizens in the diaspora. So that is a very powerful vehicle for any Mbaise citizen in the diaspora to liaise with the home-based organizations or even other associations to deliver any type of community service or philanthropic gesture back home in development. Everything is geared toward the development of the homeland. That is primarily what I see. I see Mbaise USA as a vehicle. That vehicle that brings together resources, that brings together expertise, that brings together every technical know-how in the quest to develop the homeland.
And to what extent do you think the organization as it stands today is living up to that expectation?
I really do think the current direction of Mbaise USA under the leadership of Chief SOS Chendo has more or less encouraged a lot of us, myself particularly, to look towards service and delivering some of my own ideas and some of my own talent towards the development of Mbaise USA. There are so many ideas that they bring forth, so many activities that they have done, that the exposures they have garnered for Mbaise USA and Mbaise citizens in diaspora has really, really been tremendous. So I really believe personally that the direction that they are going needs every son and daughter of Mbaise that's capable of, more or less giving their little widow's mite in terms of service to help steer that ship in that direction progressively.
You're a very experienced gentleman. Looking at your tall, I would describe it as tall resume. Uh, you've been in politics, you've been in organizations, you've been in humanitarian service, but we're talking about being the secretary of this organization as it stands today. And the constitution of Mbaise USA, which I have here, in the main records that a good secretary should be one that should take minutes and preserve all the policy documents and interaction. What does it mean to you? What is your own picture of a secretary of an organization of this nature?
It's primarily a positive, presenting a positive outlook of the secretariat, making sure that all the informations are documented, informations are secured, and every message in terms of documentation that goes out there is accurate to the policies and ideals of Mbaise USA. And then making sure that the image of Mbaise USA is protected and the documentation that is ever produced is accurate to every meeting, is accurate to every engagement of Mbaise USA. And that is primarily the role of a secretary. as the head of the Secretariat is to safeguard first, and then make sure that all information disseminated on behalf of Mbaise USA is accurate to the policies and ideals of the association.
So, looking at the enormity of the job of a Secretary General of this nature in a country like the United States, because we have Mbaise boasts of what we call a reservoir of educated people. It's our biggest industry, apart from, say, entrepreneurship. What motivated you to step out to serve at this capacity?
Well, I think if you're asking me are you asking me in terms of my intention to serve in as the Secretary General,
Yes.
or in my capacity as an
What
individual?
motivated you? What did you see? What do you have in mind? What is your vision and mission? What do you intend to bring on the table?
Sure. Thank you very much. I think that's an excellent question, because I have engaged in so many different capacities in uplifting lives in Mbaise. I have done a lot in my own private capacity, in my own immediate community. I have been the vice president of Mbaise United in New Jersey, where I reside, and then also PRO of Mbaise Association, New Jersey, where I also reside. And then from that perspective, I believe personally that there is only one way to make an impact, is to deliver, is to show up and be part of the process. So this time around, I said, you know what? In the capacity of a general secretary, I can be able to work with whoever becomes the president of Mbaise USA and the vice president of Mbaise USA in developing policies, because that's what area that I know very well that I am good at. I have master's degree in public policy, which is aside from the PhD. I cherish that a lot. Looking at what the people need, making policies and helping to craft policies and write up policies that can be able to really make impact in the lives of the people. So not just being the Secretary General, but being an integral part of policy development and the formulation of ideas and network that can develop the homeland.
Well, we know that organizations, there's usually intracadal squabbles, and MBC USA is not a special case at that, because we have our own challenges. As the secretary and giving your training in public policy, in diplomacy, in international law, how will you bring this to bear in midwifing or intervening in some of these things that might crop up sometimes due to possibly lack of understanding of policy direction?
So, thank you for that question. I've always been a firm believer that, conflict is something that is inevitable. But as brothers and sisters, it's always good to disagree. We disagree to agree without being disagreeable. Because you don't expect everyone to have the same idea. Any association or any community where everyone believes the same thing, they're not going to go anywhere. So there has to be divergent in opinion. There has to be people that believe something else. But then there should be superior argument. When you see superior argument, you yield. So I think it's always my version will be to encourage people to yield to superior argument. Because when you present your opinion, and then especially when you have a democracy, when majority say we are going left, even when you're right, but majority wants to go left, it beholds on you to yield and then let the will of the people prosper. So I think for our people, there should be a need for us to disagree to agree without being disagreeable. Like they say, I always say in Igbo language, ọnọdụ ekote okwu ekotokwanụ emezie otu ụmụnne na-esi eme ihe. So even in a family, esete okwu small, all the good. Onye ọbụla baala room, amechazie emezie. So there's always need to reconcile. And we reconcile not for individual benefits, for the purpose and benefit of the community at large.
Because in politics, you don't have permanent enemies. It's just a matter of permanent interest. The interest of
Absolutely.
the community should be uppermost in all our aspirations or arguments or conflict, and our ability to manage such crises will help to strengthen our organization.
Absolutely.
Now, let's look at, we're talking about you as a secretary. I'm looking at you in that office as a national secretary. What challenges do you think secretaries could have that might impede on their ability to deliver based on their convictions and what is professionally expected of them to do?
I believe a secretary should be fair. You be fair in recording. You'll be fair in dissemination of information. I think most of the time, when someone holds an office as a secretary general and they see themselves above board, and that usually creates problem. You should be fair to Dick and Harry. You should make sure that when you record accurately to what is available, and then you also make sure you capture, even when you summarize and also be open to take feedbacks, because people's ability to take feedback and even take criticism when necessary will help a lot. So I think the office requires that people have the temperament to take criticism because it's going to come, and then that temperament to take criticism, and then the resolve to always treat everyone fairly, and then make sure that everyone that requests information from you as a secretary, that you oblige them and make sure that they get exactly the service that they deserve, and do not do what they call say in Nigeria one-sided treatment. There
Yes.
should be a comprehensive understanding that everyone deserves service, and the right service at that.
You are harping on the inclusivity of decisions, making sure that everybody is involved or everybody's interest is protected in whatever decisions we take. Let's look at your specialization. You have a PhD in forensic psychology, and one might be asking, what does this entail? Do you have specialization in advanced human behavior? Would you want to enlighten us a little bit?
Sure. So it's forensic psychology of advanced human behavior. So I have a very extensive training and practical knowledge about what people do, how they do it, even some behaviors that are direct or indirect or inherent. And then when people exhibit behaviors, I have the capacity to be able to analyze those behaviors and be able to begin to put together where those type of intentions are coming from, where the triggers for those behavior can potentially be coming from. So it allows me to understand human beings, understand the differences in human beings, appreciate their differences in their uniqueness. And then if it is sometimes it's a positive, you see, one thing about behavior is not always negative, right? So
Yeah,
people always think when you say behavior, they're looking at the negative part.
from the
There
negative
are
perspective.
positive, exactly. There are positive behaviors and maladaptive behaviors, which is the one that we treat. But the positive behaviors are the ones when we identify it, we encourage it more. And then the maladaptive ones, we figured out mechanisms to decrease such behaviors. And then in every community, you have both. So
Mhm.
what it allows me to do is to understand everyone in front of me, know that there are different of opinions, different of attitude, different of character, and then be able to analyze and approach them in a way that do not present aggression towards them, but rather cordially approaching each individual uniquely in respect of their uniqueness as individuals.
Okay, let's move forward because as secretary, you need to have understanding of the various arms of Mbaise USA by talking about looking at the executive branch and of course the legislative arm, where we have the board of delegates. And by Mbaise USA's makeup, Mbaise has affiliate members identifying with Mbaise USA. And each affiliate chapter kind of nominates 5 to form what we know as the Board of Delegates. What is your understanding of the workings of the Board of Delegates?
No,
How
I believe
representative do you
the
think it
board
is?
of delegates oversees a lot, and it's in terms of approval of projects, policies. Uh, it goes through the board of delegates. So no major projects can be done without the board of delegates because they are primarily the owners of association, representatives of the owners of association, which are their affiliates. So I believe very strongly that their role is essential because they represent basically the nucleus of the association itself. So anybody leading the board of delegates has a very, very significant role, to play in uplifting even shaping the policy together with the president, shaping the policy of the association in any direction that they may desire. So it's very, very important that the right persons are in those roles. That way, for me, if I'm able to be elected as Secretary General, I will gladly, be happy to have the right persons with the progressive mindset to really move Mbaise USA forward and not backwards.
Okay, one of the major arguments people put forward is the relationship between the executive and the legislature in this case, and that brings to mind one of the greatest works by Charles Lewis the Secondant in the principle of separation of powers. And of course, by extension, we have the checks and balances where you have to reconcile your differences and all that. Looking at the operation of the executive and the legislature in this instance, what is your take? Should there be daggers drawn? Should there be synergy? Should there be, what is your own understanding and submission on the capability of these various branches to
No,
achieve expected end?
yeah, well, I thank you for that question. It's always good to be synergy, but then at the same time, there should be checks and balances. Because if you have, for instance, executive that is functional today, does not necessarily mean that executive is going to act, function the same way tomorrow. So there should be a fundamental structure or precedent set for synergy and then at the same time checks and balances because the executive should always be checked. They reviewed. Activities of the executive should always be reviewed to make sure that it's in compliance. Because I think for an organization like Mbaise USA, the greatest thing that they do is raise funds and spend that money for the benefit of the people. So when you see that such funds are raised, the very, very critical thing that should be done across board is cost benefit analysis. Is this project, beneficial to the people? One, and is the cost is it something that the association can afford? Is it necessary? Is it going to worth it for the people to spend this amount of money for any project? When you do that and you realize that there are some projects that no matter what the cost is that the people need, you do your best to initiate and make sure that it takes off. So synergy is very, very important. And then checks and balances are very important. So it's very, very necessary for both executive and legislature to work together for the benefit for overall peace, because without peace, it's very, very difficult to achieve. So for peace to be there, there should be synergy for them to work together and agree on projects and agree on things that has to be done. That does not mean that if there is a divergent on opinion that the association should be standstill. That should not be suggested. It should actually, the executive has a primary role to move the association forward, no matter the reality. But at the same time, I think it's everyone's hope that is synergy. But in the absence of synergy, then the General Assembly should then be carried along in every project or everything that is necessary to move the association forward.
Well, I think Charles Louis the Secondant, the Baron of Montesquieu, did justice in that his work, The Spirit of the Laws, who says that there must be separate and independent bodies, but
Right.
you should also work towards achieving synergy, because without synergy, you'll not be able to carry out projects and
So
all that. Now, all your life, you've from primary to this stage in life, you are through and through an Mbise person. If someone encounters you and say, "What is your picture of an Mbise person?" How would you respond?
I, I always reference the concept of Mbiseness of an Mbise man. An Mbise man is one that takes family very seriously. An Mbise man is one that protects family, both nuclear and extended. So an Mbise, I'll use man because normally it
That's
encompasses
biological.
the women as well.
Mhm.
So an Mbise person, to be correct in the terms, an Mbise person is one that is jealous in protection of his community. So every Mbise man guards Mbise, the name Mbise, with jealousy. It is inherent in us. We didn't start it. It has been there. So anywhere you go and you see maligning of attempt to malign the Mbiseness of an Mbise man will stand up and you will know that he's from Mbise. And even when people bicker, even when people disagree, when you go somewhere and hear that somebody is being maltreated and you hear that they are from Mbise, you will forget the issue. Which part of Mbise they are from is no longer the case.
Mm.
You must protect them because they are Mbise people. So
Time is
that's
running out on
in a
us,
nutshell an
actually.
Mbise man.
Yes, time is running out on us, but I won't let you go until you tell us where we should see Mbise in the next 5 to 10 years. You were part of the latest unveiling of a project, of a dream project that could be a catalyst to the infrastructural development and, by extension, human development of Mbise person that you talked about. Where do you see us? And how do you see the Medview Medical City?
I really do. I am excited about such progressive project. I know that a lot of people have divergent opinions about it. I truly believe that people that disagree do not disagree because the project is not a good one. The project is not necessary, or the project is not going to be a catalyst for massive development for Mbise people. I believe that people really disagree because of process. People want a certain process or certain procedures to follow before you get from point A to point B. But that withstanding, I am really, really excited and encouraged for the foresight of this administration to put together this type of monumental like this is more like a life changing achievement if once it pulls through. Because what I believe that's going to happen when this Medview city, medical city, comes to life is you will find private sector investors coming to Mbaise to build universities, to build industries, to build even hotels and even other industries, factories. Why I say this is because when you have a world-class medical center located in Mbaise, everybody will begin to want to seek their medical attention or even affiliations with that type of project, and also supply. You see, when you look at I'm talking about demand, all of but supply also, because there are equipment manufacturers, there are people that supplies beds, there are people that does certain things that the facilities will need. So that project is going to most likely employ more than 50% of youths in
Okay.
Mbise. So I believe is that everybody should rally around to its success. No matter the disagreement, I really believe that people should set that aside and look at the merits of such project and do whatever they can to make sure that it takes off.
On that note, I'd like to say a special thank you to Dr. Uche Bonny-Life Ndu, aspiring to be the National Secretary of Mbaise, USA, and we wish you luck. Uh, Thank you so much for finding time, and I'm sure our viewers are quite enlightened with this special interview with this candidate for National Secretary. I remain Cliff Ayozie, and of course, I'm working with Ezioma Amasike, who has been doing a great job with me.